Hello traders, Rich here and welcome to Kucoin as episode 13, and today we are going to go over 5 altcoins. If you don't know about Kucoin, it's one of the largest crypto exchanges in the world with over 700 billion traded volume on the platform and 10 million registered users from more than 200 different countries. Kucoin has many features like margin trading, spot trading, trading bot, mining pool, staking, lending, and many more with over 700 listed coins. If you don't have an account yet, I'll make sure to attach my referral link in the description below. And if you create an account through it, you'll benefit from 20% discounts on your trading fees. So let's get started. And as usual, cheers. Let's start with Algo and then we'll go over 4 more altcoins. As we clearly see, Algo is approaching a strong support area as we've got many rejections from it previously, and we also have a demand zone as we had an aggressive movement upwards from it. So that's indeed a very strong zone, a support and demand. That's why we'll be looking for buy setups. We don't buy blindly because price can still dive inside it before going higher or even breaks it down. In this case, a movement lower would be expected. But let's take it step by step. We're around a support and demand zone, so we'll be looking for buy setups. In this case, as price rates higher, the next rejection would be this resistance zone, which is also a supply zone as we had an aggressive movement down from it, and a resistance because it was acting as resistance previously, broken upward, now support again, and then broken downward. So now price is below it, so it's acting as a resistance area. So that being said, around the support, looking for buy setups. If you zoom into daily time frame, we can see that we are obviously bearish. We had our first impulse, a correction, a second impulse, and we are currently approaching the support. So we are speculating or expecting this bullish movement to the upper trend line in brown and this resistance which I showed you from weekly time frame. So let's zoom into H4 and we can see that we've got a valid channel 1, 2, and 3. So that's our last swing high, which is also a minor support and resistance area. We've got many rejections from it previously. So for the bulls to take over, while waiting for this break above it, of course, it depends on you if you trade it on margin or on spot. For margin traders, the entry would be after a momentum candle close above it. The stop loss would be below the previous swing low, and we target a 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio at least to have an edge over the market. From a risk management perspective, it would be around the upper resistance area. For spot traders, of course, you can buy and hold it, but keep in mind that we've got a resistance zone up there. Next, we can see that we've got Mattek. If you zoom out to weekly time frame, we can see that this one is approaching also a demand zone. It's not a support as we only had one aggressive movement upwards from it. For it to have a support, we need multiple rejections from a certain area. So that's indeed a demand zone, and this is the entire area. So from like 2.5 till 4. Anyway, this is an area. So we are looking for buy setups. If you zoom into daily time frame, we can also see a very similar channel that we saw on Algo. And however, in this particular case, price is very close to our trend line, so we'll need the bulls to break it, to invalidate it, invalidate this whole bearish trend before we buy. If you zoom into H4 time frame, you can see that we've got a trend line formed here in orange, and we also got like an inverse head and shoulders pattern forming. So here's our left shoulder, our head, and the right shoulder is forming now. So we're waiting anyway, no matter if we got the right shoulder or not, as long as we are below this trend line in orange and below this trend line in brown, we are overall bearish. And if you break them higher, we will not buy until the neckline of the entire range in the shape of an inverse head and shoulders pattern would be broken upward. I don't know if you can see it, but this is my alert up there. So I'm waiting for this, for the bulls to take over. Again and again, it depends if you are a margin trader or a spot trader. This would be it for margin traders. Stop loss below the previous swing low, and you target a 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio as I showed you on Algo. Next. Okay, we've got Link. Also, if you zoom out to weekly time frame, it's currently approaching a support area. It's also a demand as we had an aggressive movement upward from it. multiple rejections from it previously acting as a resistance, broken upward, so now it's acting as a support area, and price is currently approaching it. Of course, we'll be looking for buy setups because link can still dive inside the support right before trading higher. So we don't buy blindly, as I mentioned many times. So this is the view from daily time frames. So I don't really need to zoom into lower time frames to H4. So when I find a valid pattern or like something clear from daily, I don't need to zoom in lower. We've got a wedge pattern, which is a very strong bullish reversal setup in this case because it's a falling wedge. And we can clearly see that the bulls are kicking in bit after bit. Of course, they are not in control yet. The bears are in full control because we can see low lows and lower highs. So a low low and lower high. However, we can see that the impulse movements are getting small and flat. So look at this one, right? A steep one. Let me drag and drop it. Look at this one. It's getting flat, right? Here we go. You can see it now very clearly. And look at the last one here, getting even more flat, which give us an early alert that we've got a shift in momentum about to happen. Of course, it would be confirmed after a break above the last high. The last high would be here around round number 10, but for extra confirmation, I'm personally waiting for this area, which is also a supply zone. So this is what I'm waiting for, around like a break above the 12, a momentum candle close above it to finally say that the bulls are taking over. That's it. If you zoom out, here we go. Meanwhile, link can still trade lower and lower. Of course, by breaking above this high, it would give us an alert that, yeah, the buyers are taking over. But to me, I'll be waiting for this break to confirm that the buyers are finally taking over. Next, we've got BAT. If you zoom into weekly time frame, we can see that we previously had this support and resistance, multiple rejections from it previously acted as a resistance, broken upward, now support, and lately price broke it downward. So now this round number 0.5 is acting as a resistance. So before buying, I would like a break above the zone, or to buy around the support area where we have some room to trade higher before reaching the resistance. So that's how you know where you are in the market and what you are looking for. So now we know where we are. We're around a demand, as we had an aggressive movement upward, a resistance here turned into a support, right? Because it's broken upward. And of course, we also got this support area here. So we'll be looking for buy setups here, knowing that the price can still trade lower a little bit to test this demand and support before trading higher. That's why we don't buy blindly while looking for buy setups. This one is very similar to Mattek. We've got a channel. Here we go. Let me show you. A channel and price is currently around the upper trend line. Okay, so we want the price to invalidate. Oh, oops. Here we go. We want the price to invalidate it before we enter our buy. Also, we've got like a range in the shape of an inverse head and shoulders pattern, 0.5 round number, upper trend line here. So to buy BAT, I would like to see a break above all the possible resistance zones that might push the price lower. Here we go. Here's our view from H4 time frame. It's an entire zone, just like MATIC if you compare it. Here we go. Inverse head and shoulders inside this big range. So this is what I'm waiting for on BAT. Of course, meanwhile, we can still trade lower like this. In this case, we'll be looking for buy setups here because it would have some room to reach before reaching the upper resistance. So on BAT, I'm waiting for a break above the 0.5. Last but not least, we've got HBAR. This one looks very clean or straightforward. We've got the demand zone here, previously acted as a resistance, broken upward, now support. So that's why we are looking for buy stops, knowing that HBAR can still dive inside the demand zone till 0.03 before trading higher. That's why we are not going to buy blindly. We want the buyers to prove to us that they are taking over before we enter the buy. For this one, unlike BAT and MATIC, it's currently around the lower bound. So yeah, we can look for buy stops because it would have some room to trade higher before reaching a possible resistance and the upper trend line. So yeah, we can look for buy stops starting from now. This one looks very similar to Algo. Let me show you. Here we go, around the lower bound of the brown channel and forming a smaller channel from H4 time frame. Now in this case it's a falling broadening wedge because the trend lines aren't in parallel. Anyway, this is the last major high that I'm looking for. Of course I made it a little bit higher for extra confirmation and not exactly this one here. Of course, meanwhile, we can still form a new swing high here and trade lower. In this case, I'll update my trigger swing to be this one here. Okay, but for now, I'll stick to this zone. And we are waiting for a break, maybe like this or like this. We can't really know, trading is reactive and not predictive. So don't try to catch the exact bottom. Don't try to catch a falling knife. Okay, so especially in a bearish market, every bearish movement is not a dip. It's a bearish movement. We are overall bearish. Okay. So, like, of course, in a bullish market, every bearish movement would be a correction, would be a dip. But in a bearish market, every bearish movement would be an impulse movement, okay? Every bullish movement would be a correction before the next impulse movement pushed the price lower. So that's basically it. I'm waiting for a break above this. Meanwhile, we can still trade lower and lower, but I will not going to buy unless we have a break above the trend line and the last major swing. So that's it for these 5 altcoins. Let me know if you like this idea, and I'll make sure to make part 2 maybe next week or the one after it. And of course, feel free to request any instrument or topic that you would like me to cover. Best of luck, and I'll see you on the next one.